All right, hello everyone. We are so excited to have another parent workshop, and today we are going to be discussing all about PODD, and PODD stands for Pragmatic, Organized, Dynamic Display. And we are very excited to have two presenters this evening, Miss Kate Whitehouse and Miss Jessica Hathaway, who are going to be sharing how they have implemented the use of PODD to support the communication for the students in their classroom. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Kate and Jess.
All right. Get started. Okay, so all students are communicators and behave in ways that signal their interests, attention, requests, and needs. We know that about our students, you know that about your kids, and PODD is just, the surface for this. So we're going to jump on into it. Something that PODD is associated with is the ARCH communication. So this is putting autonomy, accessibility, requirements, competence, and habits all the time at the forefront of communication. So that is what our goal is using PODD with our students. Okay, so who made PODD? There's our lovely principal, Mrs. Starr, with the developer of PODD, who is Gail Porter. She is a speech pathologist and has been for more than 30 years. She has experience with students and children of all ages with complex communication needs. She actually works in Australia, and she came and did a training that Katie went to and Mrs. Starr went to, and a few other people from Longview. But she works at CPEC, Cerebral Palsy Education Center in Melbourne, Australia. And she developed PODD communication books and page sets for speech generating devices. So that is Gail, right in the middle, smiling big. What is PODD? So PODD is a pragmatic organization dynamic display. It's a robust communication system for our students that have complex communication needs. That means that it is more than just yes and no. It's more than two things. It allows our students to communicate what they want, more than just from a couple choices. So PODD is a book or device that contains symbols and words to support communication between people with complex communication needs and their communication partners. It provides our students with the means to say whatever they want, whenever they want, wherever they want, however they want, and to whomever they want. So, right, Katie.
Thanks, Jess. Lindsay, did you have anything to add to what we just went over? Lindsay has also been doing PODD for what, 10 years, 11 years, Lindsay?
Yeah, about 10 or 11 years.
Beautiful. Okay.
So nope, it all sounds good.
Wonderful. You just feel free to jump in anytime.
Okay.
So there's lots of access methods with the PODD communication book and different devices. Direct select would be the child pointing to the cell to communicate. Do you guys know if you're able to see me on a recording, or is it just the screen?
I will stop sharing and I will how about that?
Love it, yes, because I want to make sure that you guys see this. So here's our PODD book, the PODD page. I would have had this on the screen, but this is great because it's a recording, so that way you guys can see it at home. So direct select is just the child pointing to exactly what they want. Hurry up and share. So that is the first method of communication. Our next method is, I think I have on there a visual scan. Is that correct, Jess? Thank you. All right, so a visual scan is I would scan through the rows, and if we still want to say hurry up, I'm going to scan down this row, and the child will indicate, yes, that's the row I want, or no, that's not the row I want. They're going to say, no, I'm going to go to the next row. They'll say, yes, that's the one I want, and now I'll point to each individual one at a time. Yes. And we're using a robot scan voice. We're saying this row, that one, that one, that one, very quick, very fast. And the goal is for our students to do a head down and up for yes, or a head side to side for no. And we'll talk more about that in a second. The next one, access method, is an auditory scan. These are for students who have severe vision or are completely blind. So I would literally scan I, you, uh-oh, they're listening to me. They hear the one they want, or they don't hear the one they want. Nope, that's not the one I want. Hurry up, stop, help. They heard, that's what I want. So they're gonna say yes. Hurry up. Say yes, that's the one I want. Hurry up. And then the one we use most often, I think both in mine and Jess's class, and yours too, Lindsay, correct me if I'm wrong, is auditory plus visual. So we are still scanning through, we're showing them the row, but we're also still scanning through each. This is great for our students with cortical visual impairment because, you know, sometimes our vision is working for us and we're doing great. And then sometimes, you know, the vision is just too much and it's easier to listen. And that also gives us a lot of practice with the patterns. And it still allows for the majority of our friends who need direct select, who need a visual, and who need the auditory to just kind of do it all in one. Anything to add to that, Miss Lindsay or Miss Jess? On access methods? Okay.
We're good. All right,
Thank
we're
you.
moving
Yep.
your slide.
Pop us back to the slides.
Okay, back to the slides.
Oh, let's watch a video, guys.
We're gonna watch a video. Okay, let's see.
So Tassie and I use partner assisted scanning. I scan through the options in his pod for him, and then he will tell me with a yes, no answer which option he wants, and then that dictates the conversation from there. Have you got something to say? Good job. Okay, more to say, turn the page, I don't know when you go to the toilet. Yeah, more to say? Yeah. I think it's something's wrong, I have an idea it's time to. No, I want to do an activity, yeah. I want to do an activity, no, let's go. Yeah, go went? No. For a drive? Drove? Visit? Yes. Turn the page. School people? I. Yeah, me. Shop? Cafe? Yes. Are you saying it's best if you visit the cafe? Yes. So what do you like to eat? Banana bread? Apricot balls? Chocolate croissant? Yes, you do love eating chocolate croissants at the cafe.
Thank you, Jess. So real quick before I jump into this, why pod, and I still have my name on there. But we saw the child have the message in there, go about going to the shop and going to visit. And the message was there. Mom understood. He wants to go to the shop and at the coffee shop, right? He wants to take a drive, but that's not how we would say. A typically developing child would say, I want to go to the coffee shop and eat a chocolate croissant. And that has all the grammatically correct words in it, and it has a sentence, but our little friend in that video just there, he got his message across and it still made sense. It didn't have all the grammatically correct words, but we're still getting the same message. So a lot of the times when I'm training my pairs on this and working through the book, it's the idea that the message is there. The sentence isn't going to sound exactly the way we're talking or having a conversation, but the message is there and the kid is getting their message across. So it is all in English, but it's not like the same way it has to be written that we would speak together. So why pod? It allows for a full range of purposes. Students can ask questions, they can complain, they can comment, they can talk to each other, they can talk to anybody they want. The pictures are right there, the words are right there. So really, lots of people can understand this. You put it out as employees at the supermarket and they're pointing to uh-oh, and somebody would look down and read it and they'd say, oh, uh-oh. You do have to have trained communication partners for different access methods. But once you get those trained communication partners and the students are able to share their message, like they are sharing what they want, when they want, all the howevers they want to whomever they want, and they can express their individual personality. As Jess mentioned, this is a robust communication system, so it's not just I decided that my students really love this box of toys, so I'm going to get them all the pictures of these cute toys that they love, and I'm not going to put any of the other pictures of the toys in there. This has everything they could want to talk about, and if it's not in there, the alphabet is. So they could, in theory, go to the alphabet page and spell it. This allows them to talk about really whatever they want. And they can also complain, which a lot of other communication systems don't really allow for complaining, because like we're like, oh, the kids got to talk about what they want and what they want more of and what they want to play with. And sometimes the kids like, that's an awful toy, it's too loud and it's too noisy. They can say this with their pod. Did I have something else on this slide, Jeff? I thought I did. Okay, let's go to the next slide then. That's where the 2 slides are. Okay. All right, so I have this quote in here and I'm just going to go ahead and read it out loud. The average 18-month-old has been exposed to 4,380 hours of oral spoken language at a rate of 8 hours a day from birth. The child who has a communication system, like the pod, receives speech therapy 2 times a week for 20 to 30 minutes. To reach the same amount of exposure in their AAC language is going to take about 84 years. So our input equals our output. There's no prerequisite skills to communicating. We talk to babies and we talk to them and we talk to them and talk to them, and we do not expect them to talk back to us. And there's at no time do you have your sweet baby and someone comes to visit and you say, we're only practicing these 8 words. And once we learn these 8 words, then we can practice more words. You just talk and talk and talk to the baby as much as you want. And you don't expect them to talk back to you. That is the same with the pod. So that is where we need to come in as trained communication partners and model, just like we do to our babies. We talk and we talk and we talk to them. And then eventually we'll throw a few words in there, just a few, and then we get more and more language. That's the same with the pod. If we model, we give input of modeling the AAC device, the output is going to be them using their AAC device. Anything to add, Lindsay and Jeff, before we go to the next slide? Okay, wonderful. Oh, go for Jess. Look at these cute pictures, guys.
Okay, so when do we use it? Here's some pictures of my students using it in my classroom. I do have some students that will touch. They're not necessarily isolating their fingers, but they will touch their pod. And, you know, again, we're modeling to them, you're touching your pod, you have something to say, let's talk, you know? So in this, you see the student in the middle, we're using the pod for when we were doing math, we were using the pod to model how we can count, we can show numbers, we can find our numbers in our pod book and interact with them that way. On the right, you see a student, this is during the letter of the day that we do every single day. And back to what Kate was talking about, if it's not in the pod, the students have access to the whole alphabet. So they could spell something that they want that's not in their pod book. So every day when we do our letter of the day, we practice using or finding that letter in our pod. So then that way the students are familiar with how they can get to their alphabet pages and how they can use their alphabet to communicate something that they might not find in their pod. Sorry. And then bad dogs. And then the last one, this student was choosing to, we were talking about things that we like and don't like, and she was touching her pod book while we were talking about that. So these are 3 examples in the classroom where students are interacting with their pod books. And again, anytime a student is indicating that they want to share something or they have something to say, whether they're touching it or they're vocalizing or even just looking at it, we take that as an opportunity to model with a student how we can use our pod books in that moment. So.
Absolutely, Jess. That is what we refer to as babbling. They're touching their pod, so whatever their hand is on, we're going to just go ahead and say it because we are touching our book, and that's what that would say. A lot of my little friends think it's very funny whenever they're like roaming their hand all over the pod book and we will say what it says and they're like, Did she just say what my hand was on? They're like, that's hilarious. Here's some pictures from my tiny team. I do have some friends who are very interested in touching all over their pod. My friend right here on the left has been very interested this year in flipping the pages of the pod book, which has been really fun. We do lots of turn the page, and we like that a whole bunch. We were using this book to talk about more paint and more feathers for my friend on the right. My friend right there in the middle, this is when we were at International Day, and our pods are with us at absolutely all times. And it has been so beautiful within my staff that they're literally never without their pod books. If someone tries to move it off the tray, it goes right back on the tray or onto the table right where they are. Essentially, you wouldn't tell a speaking child to not talk for a certain amount of time. And even if you did, like, how do you actually monitor that? Like, you can't take a child's voice away. So that's the same idea with the pod book there with the child at all times. So we took it to International Day, and you can see we are on something to say, more to say. We're on our 2A page, which takes us throughout the whole book, and we were going to all the different countries. And then on the, I got my left and right mixed up, didn't I, Jess? On the right is our letter of the day, just like Jess was doing, and it is a routine thing, and that has been one of the easiest things to bring into the classroom for pod books, is just using them at routine times, and then you will build on that. We have built on that as a staff, because it's overwhelming if you're listening to this whole thing and you're looking at the book and it's a hefty book. You're like, that's a lot. But you use it at routine times during the day. You start with the first couple pages and it just becomes second nature, and then you start using it more and more and more. And so we are also using it. I'm not sure what the letter of the day was that day, but it had to have been, K through J or something. So fast facts. Oh, this is 2A, what I was just talking about. Lindsay, what is the word for this page? There's like, is it our chat? It's not our chat words. What is it? I'll put you on the spot.
The only thing that's come to my mind is the quick words, but I know that it's not that either. That is our
right?
Our main branch
page
that lets us get further into the pod.
Branchy.
I know, right? You got, okay, we're all, Jen Ways is coming on.
Jen Ways knows.
What's it called, Jen? What is this page called? You're here for a pop quiz already. So our first 2 pages are quick chat words, but what is 2A called?
What do you mean, what is 2A called?
Because this is like the chat words, quick chat.
Page 1 and page 2 are quick chat words.
What's 2A? Branch.
Yes, they're pragmatic starters or branches.
Okay.
Very nice.
Yes, that sounds, yes, pragmatic branches. Okay, yes, I love it. Okay, so this page takes us throughout our entire book. So if we wanted to get there, Jess, can you pop back to me really quick?
Oh, yeah.
Thanks. All right, so if we wanted,
pause. Okay.
All right, if we wanted to get there, I'm going to indicate that I have something to say. And that's something we didn't specifically talk about, but Jess did mention that if our students are looking at the pod, reaching towards the pod, or using their voice to vocalize, or smiling a lot, that is an indication that they have something to say, and we're going to stop and listen. So as we are modeling as well, we always model that we have something to say as well, because that's how you get people's attention. So something to say, more to say, and then we're going to get down to our pragmatic branch starters. All right, Jess, you can take us back to the slide.
All right.
Thank you. All right, so this is 2A, and this is going to take us to the whole book. On the right, you see, go back to page 1. Oops, the best button, and categories. This is going to be on pretty much every single page except for the first page. On the first page is only oops, but every other page has go back to page 1, oops, and go to categories. So that's always going to be there on the right. If we look right here at I'm asking a question, we can see up in the corner it has that number 8, and the number 8 is actually brown. So all the tabs in the book are different colors. So it's not only numbered, so you'll find where tab 8 is. Tab 8 is actually brown. Just like right below, I'm telling you something. Number 3, the third tab, is pink. So it's got color coded, really quick to get through it and to flip pages. Like I said, oops is on every single page. So sometimes you're kind of stuck, like, I don't know what to say, or I got to the wrong place. Oops. And that's real fun. The kids love that. That's hilarious when you mess up. So funny. I think it's a great time. Let's see. So yeah, this is going to take you throughout a lot of the book. Lindsay, do you have any other fast facts just about the main book and how it's set up?
Just one thing, I guess, is on that go to categories, that big orange button. It's really important to resist the urge to just say more to say and then go straight to the categories, because then you're not using those branches and you're not providing that context for the kids. Like if you say, you know, go to categories and then you choose activities, like, do you want to do an activity? Are they about to do an activity? You know, what is this activity? So it's important to not jump straight to categories and follow the branches.
That's great for modeling, Lindsay. I agree. And actually, we just had that conversation in my class because we were talking about, I forgot what it was, but I was like, I'm telling you something, which takes us to I'm telling you, and it's about now, which literally takes you right to categories. And one of my parents had asked, why can't we just go to categories? And I was like, well, it's a chance to model. So it's a chance to model all those branches, but it is there really quick if you need it. And like I said, those three things on the right are going to be on every single page. They're right there for when you need them. But great ad, Lindsay. Thank you. Okay, and this is not to scare anybody, but the system should be big enough to grow into learning, but not too big that they trip over it. And then this is honestly just to show everybody how much PODD is. This is the PODD book, but there's also PODD communication apps that go on the iPad. PODD can go up to 48 cells. It can go up to 20 cells. It can go down to 9. It can go down to 1. So the students can move throughout different books as needed. They can get high-tech systems. We know high-tech is super cool and really fun, but also you got to keep it charged. What happens when it dies? Then your voice is gone. That's not fair. You need a low-tech option. So it's back and forth, and the patterns are all the same throughout all the different PODD communication books. The branches are the same, they follow the same, and they all build on one another. So if we master our 12 cell and we need more room to grow into, we move up, I think it's the 20 that's next. It still follows the same setup. The quick chat words are right there. The categories button, the oops, all on the same area. So the student already has prior knowledge, and so does the communication partner, because this looks overwhelming. But there's room for growth, and there's also room to pull back if it's too much too. Right now at school, we have all of our students on the 12 cell PODD right now, but we do have access to others. So where do you guys start? Don't be overwhelmed. This is literally where me and Jess and where Lindsay told us to start, because Lindsay came with years and years of PODD for us. And this is where this is what even Gail says. This is where Gail says to start. Is start on the first 2 pages, okay? Or just the first page. Just start. There's so much you can say with the first page. Honestly, you'll surprise yourself on how much you can talk about with just 9 words, 8 words. Because we've got to turn the page. Well, and we're going to add in oops too. But you can talk. I want to do it. And just because those words are there doesn't mean that you can't build on them. You can't, if you want to say more, because we're playing more toys, you can still say more toys or more magic train song. Like you can still add those extra words in modeling that language. So you're not just stuck to be like more, you can still add upon that, but you can have a whole bunch to say with just the first pages. And something else to mention is that when there's a turn the page, you always have to verbally state turn the page, because as the communication partner, if the child is going to pick that and you're scanning either visually, auditorily, or the child is direct selecting, they still need to touch that to turn the page. So you turn the page to get to the next set of words. And there's so much you can say with just the first 2 pages. A lot of our students throughout, especially in mine and Jess's class, have personal PODDs already, and we have PODDs throughout the school building that students have access to be modeled with. And we have a lot of it's very easy to print the first 2 to even 3 pages of the pod books to send home if you guys would like to use them in your homes. That is an option as well. Just reach out to us. And then also on just how you guys start, just have it available, have it out with them. Even if it's the first page, just have it near them, have it in a place where they can reach it, where they can indicate that they have something to say. Routinely use it. Don't overwhelm yourself. Just start with, we're going to use it at dinner time. We're going to use it at toy time. We're going to use it when we wake up or when we're hurrying up to get on the bus. You know, just pick a time during the day where you can say, I know I always say, oh, at this time, or I always say, we're finished at this time. And then start that way, and you'll just get into a routine. Always give your child enough time to communicate their own thoughts and the right to choose. This is super important. Maybe they don't want to say anything. And you're like, here you go. And they're like, no, I don't want to. You still keep it in their space, still keep it available. You can still model with it. But maybe they just don't want to say anything at all. And that's cool. Like sometimes you just don't want to say anything. Also be super kind to yourself because it takes time to learn new habits. And the oops button is right there. So just oops out of it. It's cool. And like we said earlier, the kids think it's hilarious. So model those mistakes all the time. They think it's a great time. Anything to add, Jess?
I was just going to add that the having it available was a huge first step for me. You know, Katie had this in her classroom last year. She had it with each of the students. And this is the first year that I have it with each of my students. And having it there is like, it really is the first step. I have a pod page, the bathroom pod page in the bathroom as well. And having it next to the potty or next to the changing table allows you to communicate what's going on in the bathroom as well. And just having it there is like, makes communicating about it just so much more natural. If it's not there, you're not going to use it. So that's kind of, for me this year, that's been like the huge learning portion, is just having it available, having it there, having it for lunchtime, having it with the students for learning. And again, like in the bathroom, just setting like very realistic goals about where you could see it in your space and how you could use it. And then just starting there. So
absolutely. And that's why I have it as number 1. Thanks, Jess. Great ad. And this is where we have questions. If there are any questions, we'll definitely take questions, but you guys can always reach out to us at school or reach out to Miss Starr, and we will answer questions and get materials at your house if need be. Anything to add, Lindsay or Miss Starr?
Well, I want to say thank you to all of you for coming and presenting and showing one, great option for supporting, robust communication for our students, because we know at Longview that is one of our number 1 goals, is for our students to be able to say what they want to say, when they want to say it, and how they want to say it. And PODD has proven to be a really great tool and support for that. So I second what Kate just said, that if any families are interested in learning more about PODD, would like for us to supply, especially those first 2 pages for it to be used at home, or would like to, again, learn any more information, to please, you can email me, reach out to Kate or anybody, your child's teacher even, and we would be happy to support you in learning more, because while it does look like a lot, I can attest that with practice, us verbal speaking people can learn to speak PODD. It is much harder for us to communicate via PODD than our students. I definitely have seen that over and over again with many, many of our students. It is not hard for them. It's hard for us. So, but we're here to help each other. So it can be done. So, is there anything else from the group? All right, well then we will wrap up our session for this month. Next month, we're going to be learning about something called the SET framework. It's another acronym. PODD was an acronym. SET is another acronym that talks about especially assistive technology and how we can support our students in being as independent at home and at school as possible. And the SET framework is a process or a tool that helps get to kind of that right answer, that right fit to best support our learners. So I will be presenting next month. Hope you can join us, and thank you all very, very much, and have a great rest of your day. Bye, everyone.